Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Today, I'm going to be discussing a couple different random topics, all with a witchy element to it. And the first thing I just want to go into is just like how crazy this year has been. 2020 has been crazy. We're almost halfway through, guys. 2020, and I don't think I don't think a lot of us saw this coming. And please don't go, yes, I do tarot readings, I do things like that, but usually personal, world wise, there's always going to be discord, there's always going to be death and, disease and issues. That's part of humanity. It's always been that way. There's never been a time where there was no illness, um, no human challenges. Um, there was a time the biggest challenge was just our overall survival with the bare basics, just shelter and eating, things like that. So, I'm talking about nomad lifestyle, human. Okay, so it's a tough time. We all understand it's a tough time. Most of us are doing the best we can, I think, to get through it, whether it's just trying to hold on to work, hold on to money. Some of us are maybe spending too much money, with online shopping. My dress, I got this through, I think it's pronounced Shein or Sheen. I got this there, so I got this online cute little dress. I love this little dress. All of this just to be in the house, yes, but I don't care. Anyway, we're all doing the best we can, to get through this and to sort of not just survive, but thrive, stay healthy. Um, from a witchy perspective, I did a couple videos since this COVID 19 and the quarantine situation, or, social distancing. And one of the things that I talk about is taking this opportunity to level up your witchcraft, which I still support. I still think that's a great opportunity to do that, or your spiritual path. It's time to level up. It's time to do maybe step out your comfort zone and do a little research, find out more about things maybe you've been meaning to get to. This is the perfect time to do a little exploration. Watch those videos that you have, for save for later. This is an opportunity for you to skim through those and read some things and, basically get more knowledge on witchcraft and various aspects of it. Perfect time to do that. To take it a step further, now's the time, if you're someone like me who's a solitaire, to start thinking beyond just you and yours. Maybe now's the time that we can start doing spells, rituals, and things like that for the the rest of us, for everybody outside of our just our family, for humanity. Um, I caution that when you're doing these types of spells, to have the right expectations. You're just sending out peace. You're just sending out healing energy, that sort of stuff. If you're look, because I remember there was this thing, witches were saying they were going to get together and do a ritual on Donald Trump. I think that backfired. I don't think that was the wrong thing to do, by the way. I just think maybe the way it was executed, maybe that's why it backfired. Because if anything, I mean, he's still the president. It's still, he didn't get punished. We thought some of us witches who probably were watching or hearing about that when, he was taking a trial over, the whole Russia and the whole thing that just happened. I don't want to. I'm like trying to stay very high level. I don't want to go into a whole thing about this, but the point is that we all know, because we're all part of here. We've watched news or at least saw things on the internet, that he said was a hoax by the Democrats. So anyway, the point is, he came out of that relatively unscathed, and he's, here we are. So I'm gonna say that wasn't a spell that maybe was very successful. I think it backfired and it actually gave him a boost. But you know what? He's all about a certain type of energy, and I think a spell for somebody like for him, some if you're looking at getting back at him or taking him down using witchcraft, it would be money. You would get back at him with money. You wouldn't get back at him with exposing him, because okay, he got exposed and it meant nothing. People are still holding up Trump signs and wearing MAGA hats. It didn't take away anything. This lighting is such a pain. I am sorry that I tried. Maybe it's the afternoon sun. I don't know. I move a certain way. Forgive me. Anyway, it didn't work. So don't do that. Don't do those spells because I think it's pointless at this. I talk about energy. So on like why I always get asked, well, if you're a witch, why can't you win the lottery? Why can't you find a way to win money if you can cast magic spells? You first thing I do is win the lottery. Okay. So the thing about that is I'm using my will, my magic, because I am. We all are. We all are. We all are magic. We all have that in us and the capability to influence and manipulate, move energy. So we all have that capability. So it's my will, my energy going up against millions. And it's not saying that I'm weak or they're more, but collect. It's basically the universe is dealing with multiple requests, and it's okay. All right. Well, at some point, I don't know how the order goes, but by luck, yeah, luck. Someone's gonna get that, get picked. Their request is gonna get answered, and they're gonna get a chance to win. Could it be me? Yeah, it's possible. But you're battling against a lot. Do you know how many very desperate people play the lottery? People who, um, that was their last. The people who are gamblers and they put so much energy in playing the lottery throughout the day. There are people who buy, you know, they spend hundreds of dollars on. There are people who spend hundreds of dollars between scratch cards and playing the lotto. Listen, there are some serious people out here who are playing. They have a certain frequency that they are on, and they're willing to put a lot of actual physical energy, money behind it, so that they get what they want. So, me playing my one ticket, yeah, of course, if the fates allow it, or the universe allows it, so it would be. But you're going up against a lot of opposition. So when we're talking to bring it kind of back to what I'm talking about now with your energy and emitting it, stick to healing spells, sending out healing energy, sending out positivity. Um, with the current times to the healthcare workers, send them a boost of energy, and then obviously do the actual mundane piece. If you're able to donate in any capacity, money, the PPE, whatever it is that you can do, I would suggest that. So those are just some of the ways, we want to kind of just take it outside of maybe the solitary, and broaden out a little bit more, and just doing an overall spell. Just a simple candle spell is perfect for that, where you just simply light a candle, maybe use like lavender essential oils or some sort of oil that you think of as healing and blessings and things like that. Things that conjure up those types of thoughts and ideas. Use that type of oil. Go ahead and bless the candle with that oil, and I would probably just go with a simple white candle. Again, for the healing energy, for the peace energy, you can combine those things. Maybe carve the word healing and peace onto the candle. And just your intention is just to send that energy. After you're done, maybe open a window and sort of whisk away the candle, you know, um, when the flame is on, once you light the candle, the smoke, whisk it away. A scented candle is fine in the situation. Again, the scent that you want to use is something that makes you think peace and makes you think love and healing and all that sort of stuff. So again, you want to just, and as take it out, or take the candle, if you can move it, and stand outside, and just you want to envision that smoke being the energy of your intentions going out. If you're able to leave it outside, that's great. If not, it's okay. Come back in and leave it open. If you can leave your windows open for a little bit, that's okay. If not, don't worry about it. But burn it until it's gone. And once it's all the way, burnt down, then you want to go ahead and discard it. Maybe bury it. You can bury it, or you can just throw it in the trash. Listen, I understand. You can just throw it in your trash. But when you do so, maybe you want to put a certain herb on top of it when you put it in the trash, as sort of, and this is something I've just been doing myself. I didn't get this from anybody, but like sometimes I'll put salt, just a little sprinkle of salt. If I put it in the trash, like the remnants of the candle, I'll put just a little bit of salt on there. To me, it's like a protector. So it's like this energy now, because think about, once it goes into the trash, it's being taken away, it's going into a dump. So that this energy that I've used from the spell, or the glass the candle came in and so forth, that it's protected, it's been used, it's protected, and now I've just cleansed it. The salt to me is a purifier, so I've cleansed it. So it's protective, cleansing energy. So it's kind of like a finality to I'm now done with that. It's been done. I'm done using it for the purposes of magic. So now it's just this vessel that the candle wax was in. That's the intention I put. That's what one of the things I do, because I used to feel really bad about just throwing things into the garbage, um, and not burying it and things like that. It's not conducive to me necessarily burying things like that because of where I live. It's the desert. We don't have like grass and stuff like that here, so it doesn't really fit. And if you're somebody who lives in a city, like that's where are you burying the stuff at? So you have to get a little bit more creative. Flexibility in your witchcraft. Anyway, so yeah, do that, and it's just a way. Again, back to the original point of me bringing this up is to feel like you're doing using your skill, your magical ability for something more than yourself, for something bigger than yourself, and to send healing. And believe that whatever energy you put out there is really impactful. It's helping someone far, near, it doesn't matter. Believe it makes it, because if enough of us are doing that, I think it does. I mean, listen, people get together, you know, to march. People get together to protest, and it has impact. It's that energy. It's that overall energy. I'm not again, we're not making this about politics, but the overall energy of people gathering, and I know with social distancing, but we can gather that energy and send it out into the universe, from our individual homes, social distancing, as long as we're kind of all on the same path. But this is just something I'm suggesting. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, uh, and this is going to seem random because it has nothing to do with the other thing. Okay, guys, there. Okay, so I have a 24-year-old, so if you're dealing with people around that age, there's a certain amount of liberalism that's accepted more with them than I think that was. It's probably more than my age group and older. And I'm a, let your freak flag fly kind of gal. Live you, do you. I'm not, trying to tell anybody what they can and can't do or what they should be doing. However, not however, Anne, I'm not even going to cancel that out. I feel that way. Seriously, I really do. We're at the point right now where I'm on social media like everybody else. I have Instagram. Lee Teagan's on Instagram, by the way. And it's amazing to me what we've, you know, what we've kind of accepted as witchcraft. This idea that I don't know. To me, it feels like I'll see hood. And listen, I'm not coming for anybody, but like the term hood and ratchet and stuff like that, as far as within witchcraft, like somehow people have made it seem like that's a cult. It's black culture. One, please stop. But it's a cultural thing, and we're getting to our roots, and it's like, no, that's a very modern concept. The idea of a hood or ghetto or ratchet and all this stuff. So these are derogatory terms, typically to mean not something positive, right? When describing somebody, typically women usually. Um, I feel like when I'm seeing some of these Instagram witches, and you know, it's like, okay, so I don't know, you want to present yourself as less than, because that means you're more in tune with your roots and magic and so forth, and um, so your aesthetic. This is what I want to say. So it's important that you push that your aesthetic is rooted in, I guess, urban culture and I'm trying to find the right words to say it, and hopefully, if you're kind of following along, if you know what I'm talking about, when you see some of these, and I'm just some of these women out here, and they're not all young. Some of them a little older, but a lot of them are younger. And I just want to say this, like, okay, one of the things that this one woman, she was talking about sex work, and she was talking about from a she's selling some oils or something for sex workers so they increase their money, and then she was talking about another thing, to she was referencing like a baby daddy or something like that, and I'm just like, okay, yes, sex work is legit. I get it. People do it of all walks. It's not all just people of color. We know that, y'all, right? And I don't even have an issue with people who identify as sex workers, what they say, strippers or sex workers, right? Escorts, what have you. And that's not what this is about. And I don't have any shame toward people who want to do that, not people who were forced into that. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, so I guess you're finding your lane on how to market your witchy products and your spells and so forth and your potions. I get that from a business point of view. You know, you found a group of people who are willing to buy it. Cool. But the overall aesthetic of what you're pushing to me is that poverty. Most people in the term baby daddy, all that. Okay, forget what the jokes that we say. We know what that means. We know how that's perceived, even amongst people of color. I'm not talking about because of somebody else, but this idea that we're supposed to just like revel in dysfunction, at generational curses. You see it being played out as just dysfunction, and it's transferred over into the witchcraft. And I'm sorry if I didn't do a good job of kind of explaining. It's like I'm kind of all over the place, and I don't want to. If I speak too blunt, I'm probably going to say something crazy. So I'm trying to keep a certain level of making sure you understand, but at the same time not condemning myself to really going in on people. But we don't have to be like that. That's not look. Magic is what you make it. Totally get that. All, but why make it that? That doesn't make you more down. That doesn't make you more um, rooted in your traditional magic system or your spiritual path. It really doesn't. It doesn't, because those are modern concepts. The way that you're presenting it, the aesthetic that you're pushing, is a modern concept. That's not ancient. I don't think our ancestors were sending memes about, I'm a witch, I do this, I do that, and I do it while, listening to trap music and whatever. It's like, have you really listened to trap music, guys? Okay, so if you're practicing magic and you're understanding frequency and energy, if you're listening to this popular music right now, and I like all kinds of music, it's hard for me to get my head wrapped around some of the stuff. I barely listen to um, most of the new stuff that comes out, because I do listen because I want to hear something occasionally. But a lot of the male rappers, because I think there's been a change within female rappers coming on, and I'm liking that energy. But for the male rappers, it's like, I don't. It's like you gave a 4-year-old a mic and said start talking. It's like they don't know how to enunciate enough for me to even understand what they're talking about. But that's black culture. They don't. They're. But what they're talking about, I don't even want to get into. Oh well, it's a chant and all that. But I'm more concerned with the info. What are you giving me in these songs or your whole album? And you're talking about a lot of violence. You want to kill everybody, and you're letting everybody know they not to try you because you'll kill them, or your clothes, and that's a whole other thing. So it's like capitalism at its finest, materialism, um, a hatred for anybody who looks like you, and we won't even get into the whole conversation of women and all that. But you're more likable on Instagram if you're an Instagram witch and you talk about trap music, you have it playing in the background because you're more in touch, you're more down with everything. You know what's really going on. You know how to make that music work for you. You know how to tap into that energy of money and all that, make it work for you. I call BS. I'm sorry, it's BS, guys. If it was working for you, you would not have any association with no hood. And please stop talking to me like it's a choice. No, ma'am. If you had an opportunity to live in a better environment, you would. You would. So all this connecting and all that, but I see through the BS. Anyway, that's again just my observation, something I'm picking up, and I'm sorry if I didn't explain it very well. Hopefully, you know what I'm talking about. If you spend any time at all on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about when you see some of these um, what I call insta witches that are on there, and what they're pushing. I'm like, you're not helping. You're actually hurting, because there's so much more growth, and it is more natural and organic. It has nothing to do with um, white people or Wicca or any Celtic type magical system. I'm not even talking about that. There's a certain deeper level, but all that other stuff is in the way, which goes into my next random thought. Okay, guys, I understand people enjoy smoking. I understand weed, that is. I understand it's legalized in certain places. I don't partake, so it's not my deal. Do you? Again, in one of the situations, do you? There are so many times that I will see in the groups that I belong to, in virtual groups, where people are asking the questions about, well, or not even questions. Okay, so somebody asked a question on whether or not it enhances your magic or not if you're high, while after you smoke or while smoking. So most people by and large are saying it enhances. They said they feel like it relaxes them and so forth. I can actually understand that because I've had wine and things like that while doing certain spell work, and it does um, bring you to a certain state where you're a little bit more relaxed and you're a little bit more, you can kind of get into the flow a little bit easier. There's levels. So I wouldn't drink the whole bottle and still do it because at that point now my energy is way off. I'm not be able to stay in tune. I think this it can be said for people who, if you are that high all the time, at some point you got to start questioning your balance is off. Everything is a balance, guys. Everything has certain levels. Like if you're approaching practicing magic in a constant inebriated state where the real you, the you without any substances, is never really coming through. Everything else is sort of tainted. So those symbols you're getting, the messaging you believe you're getting, I'm not saying they're not there, but they're tainted, and now you got to be careful. It's the same way. I know a lot of people who say they don't prefer to drink alcohol at all because if you understand about alcohol, it's spirits, why they call it spirits and things like that. If you're familiar with that concept, I won't go into the whole thing, but basically, it lowers your resistance, not just physically, but metaphysically speaking. So you're allowing yourself you're allowing yourself to be taken over by spirits, negative spirits. Um, there's this idea that if you and as I remember talking to somebody about this, and they were saying, well, no, weed is different because that's of the earth. How do you think we make alcohol, guys? It's okay. Vodka is from potatoes in most cases. Of course, if you get, depending on the brand that you're getting, but wine is mostly from grapes. There's a chemical process to strip it, but if in a traditional sense, it's coming from organic substances and it's fermented, which is an organic process. So get off your high horse about your weed being natural and from the earth. Again, think. So if that's the case, then you need to be careful with that as well. It amazes me the people who alter their state on a regular basis. They're in an altered state. I know people like this. When they get up, they smoke. They're smoking all day till they go to bed. Like that's life. And it's not about them not seeing anything wrong with it. They don't. Who practice magic, by the way, they don't see how one how they're affecting it because you're in this altered state. You're not going to see a difference. And what I would maybe challenge you to do is not smoke for a few days and see what happens as you practice your are you still getting those messaging and messages that you're getting, the dreams and things like that. And don't assume just because you feel like you're having more of a connection when you're in this altered state that's more real, that's better. I am gonna here's I've believed this since I was very young. I don't think I was created to constantly live in an altered state. I don't think that the hand that created me, that allowed, me to exist and to grow, was the whole point was for me to live either inebriated or high all the time. And I know people don't see it that way, but like when you just think of it that, like really, that's what your purpose was for that every day? No, that can't be right. but I'm, I can go into a whole thing about that. And again, I know some people are 420 happy, and they're not trying to hear that, because I have a right. I'm not talking about your rights. I'm not talking about what you should and shouldn't do. I'm just saying maybe ask the question. It's just a question, guys, especially as it relates to practicing your spirituality. Everything, yeah, the filter that you're putting in place is unnecessary. I can understand sometimes. I just gave the example of the wine, but that's your constant. I don't know. Like I said, random topics, just random topics. Okay, the other thing, and this is based on a lot of stuff that I'm seeing, like people asking, not necessarily newbies, but people who've been practicing for some time, like I said, in virtual groups that I belong to. And it gets me thinking about these types of things, so that's why I'm talking about it. But the other thing that I kind of wanted to bring up here in this video, and hopefully it's helpful to somebody, is um, when you do spells, write your stuff down. Write the date you did the spell, write what you did, write your intent down. That's part of the spell, I swear to you. Write that down. Then, after you do that, make sure to check back and write the results. Leave a section, put a line underneath everything you wrote, and write the results. And put dates next to the result. This is to me one of the easiest ways to make magic real to you, to make it make sense to you, because you will have tangible proof. Instead, what I see is a lot of people do this thing where they're like, I mean, it could have been a spell. It could be coincidence, but I don't think so. I mean, what do you guys think? Again, I'm talking about the groups I belong to. I see that. Or, could you read the candle wax and tell me, does anybody here read candle wax? You could tell me what it says. Well, what was your intention for your spell? What were you trying to do? Write it down. It doesn't matter what I see or anybody else sees. What do you see? Because that spell could be working immediately. And if you're reading the candle wax, it could be giving you messages, but those messages will only relate to you because it's your intent. We can tell you, oh, it looks like this, it looks like that. What does it say to you? Right, and then write the results down of that, because that could be the beginning of what's going to happen with that spell. Is your intent, whatever your intention was. To me, this is a great example if you're doing like love spells and things like that. And let's say it was pink candle, you use that in your love spell, and you're looking at the candle box, you're like, what does this mean? You might see clear as day something in there that disturbs you, and that could be a sign that maybe this love spell is not for the right person, especially if you're doing it, for some specific person, or this is not the right time, or maybe there's something else going on, but you're ignoring that, and you're hoping a love spell fixes all the other issues going on in your life. If you could just maybe focus on somebody else and not your crap, that sort of thing. And that could be a message only you'll get. Nobody else is going to get it. But that's why you got to write your stuff down, which goes into my other thing. We have to be honest with ourselves when practicing magic. I think you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff in other types of spiritual practices. I think you can kind of fudge your way through. There's people who, go to houses of worship who really don't believe much of anything, but they go as an insurance policy. I think we all know people like that. They show up because they were told to, and yeah, they believe if they don't go, there's a consequence to that, so they go for that reason. But there's no there's nothing feeding them spiritually. They're not even looking to be fed. They're just looking to, not burn in hell. So there you go. So we have people who are like that, people who cover because they were told to, because the consequences of if they don't want to gamble with that. What if everybody's right and, those things really happen to them, their soul or what have you. Okay. With all that being said, we have to be honest, because in the work that we do, if you're not, your spells backfire, your magical workings backfire, because your true intent, your higher self, and your low vibrating self, one of them is going to win. And if you are practicing or doing magical workings, and here's a great example. You're doing a prosperity spell, you're trying to increase your money, you want to have a certain income, you put that down, greater than or equal or greater than type of spell, this amount of money. I want, $2,000 additional every month. Like say you're doing a spell like that. Well, if you, it's not so much you don't believe it's going to work, but if you have this horrible relationship with money where you think people who have a certain amount of money are, sellouts, or, you got this idea they're always have an agenda. This is the problem with conspiracy theorists. You always think people who have a certain amount of money, they have an agenda, or, they don't, they're negative. They're bad. People with money are bad, and you have this type of thinking. Your low vibrating self is probably going to win out. You won't probably get your spell to work, and you will, but because I think there's different aspects of us that make up who we are. There's a part of you who will want that to work because you could use the money. You're thinking all the good things you could do, but you have not settled that low vibrating part of yourself, that shadow self, if you will, that has these crazy ideas about money. If it being very negative, if you have it, then you did something to get it, that that was bad. And a lot of us are taught that through religion and so forth. Basically those with money, it's bad, and some of them are, but not everyone who has money is not out to be evil and to do bad with the money. Some people just want to keep the money and grow it, for the wealth of their own family, and maybe to give to charity and to help other people. Um, it's just that simple. There's no other agenda involved. But you can see how those spells might go wonky. You might get money, but it might be money that you keeps you in debt. So meaning you could get a loan. So yeah, you got money like you wanted, income coming in for the month, but you have to pay it back, which would then satisfy your lower self or your shadow self, which is this idea that there's always a catch, or when it comes to money, because you're not allowed to be on that level and that sort of stuff. So that's why you have to be honest with yourself. You got to deal with all that other stuff. The deeper you get into practicing magical workings and doing spells and charms and that, whatever, you have to be honest with yourself, which kind of goes back into all the other stuff I'm talking about. Perpetuating a certain aesthetic that is honestly associated with poverty, associated with dysfunction, baby daddy, and all this shit. Like, come on, what are you doing? what are we really doing? That's what you want to perpetuate? We know for a fact, in a two-parent household with and married couples, those children tend to do better as adults, tend to do better health wise, tend to do better education wise, tend to do better financially. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but the ideal, the goal is not to aim for single parenthood. I Why would you want to set somebody up, especially if you are not per se living in poverty, but you damn near are. You're 1 second from it all just going up in smoke. Like, come on, why are we perpetuating that? And as somebody who is practicing witchcraft, yes, I understand you got to meet people where they are, and that's what they're going through right now. But at some point, guys, come on. The goal is to get out of that, to educate yourself so you'll never make that mistake. Okay, so then you got the one kid, then you got the two kid, the three, four. Come on, man. Get yourself together. What are you doing? You talking about you practicing magic and you walking around with a bunch of belly ring things on. Let me stop. See, I'm about to go into a whole thing. Y'all know those little root things they wearing around. They wearing those, and you know, conscious women, and they practice magic, and they do all this, and they got incense, and they smoking weed all the time, and they telling you how connected they are, and they don't get the kids vaccinated, and it's a whole. Y'all know. See, I just gave it away. That's the aesthetic I'm talking to. That's what I'm talking about. Look, I'm all for natural. I'm natural. Everything else is natural on me, so I'm definitely down for the natural, and I'm down for authenticity. And I think that within the witchy community, now at large, that's a whole other topic, but I'm talking about the witchcraft community. That aesthetic, I know it's being pushed, and I know there's a lot of women who feel comfortable with that, but you might want to question why you feel comfortable with that, because it's just perpetuating dysfunction. I no, which that's not what, to me, that is not practicing witchcraft. That's not what it means to me. It's bigger than that. Um, no. I don't know, just I'll end it there. That's a whole other video that I could do. I think I did do that, what witchcraft means to me. And if not, maybe I'll go ahead and do a video talk. What does witchcraft mean to me? That kind of ties into the video I did about what's your witchy purpose. It can't always be money spells, love spells, and put people in jars. We need to move past that, people. And if you're having to do that all the time, or you feel like you have to do that because people are always doing this or doing that, then the common denominator is you, and you need to do the work on figuring out why are you allowing people like that around you? Why are you allowing this? And where do you live? What environment do you live in? Um, there's energy. Remember that I talk about. You're staying within a negative energy, and I understand sometimes we can't help where we are at that time. We're working toward moving further. Moving on to something better and into a safer, better environment. I totally understand that. So you got to do the best with what you are. So you should need to be doing more protection magic. You need to be doing all that sort of stuff. I would have, man, I would have which knowing what I know now, oh my God, I would have all kinds of markings and things around my home to protect myself because I was in that type of environment before. So I totally understand. Um, I'm not comfortable with the women who are witches who seem to want to, I don't know, keep you there, give you ways to get comfortable with being, in that type of environment. I mean, environment, it's not just where you live. I meant it's the way of thinking as well, just staying in that space. Like I said, these topics would be random. So those are just my thoughts about that. And yeah, I'm looking at my time. I'm seeing it getting a little long on my random topics, but you know, I, not everybody agrees, and I understand that. But if you're having some random things that you're picking up, especially within the witchy community and the type of practices, magical practices you're seeing done, or by the people who are doing them, and you're starting to have questions like, that don't look right. Leave a comment because I am curious to know. Um, and it's not hate. It's not. It's observation. Don't confuse the two. You can observe and you can speak on what you observe. By the way, it doesn't make me right, but it doesn't make the other person right either. It's just an observation. Not everybody agrees with what they see, and they are allowed to discuss it. All right, so thank you for watching me here at Leap Taken. Go ahead and like the video, please, if you've enjoyed the content. Subscribe, please, if you have not already subscribed, and if you have subscribed, thank you very much. I really, really, really appreciate it. All right, bye.